and I've got 4 gentlemen who know me well and I know them well. All right, so we'll do a quick round of introductions today. I will tell you this is the most high-powered session I've got this whole week, and frankly, I'm excited. I have got folks up here who will be at no loss for words. I hope everybody enjoys this. I've had the opportunity to work with each of you in some aspect for the last at least 6 months since I've been here at Creatio, and even before that when I was joining, when I was on the partner side. So let's do a quick round of introductions. We'll start with David, we'll work our way across. David, can you please introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, I'm David Lasher. I'm a partner in Keen 360. We're a 50-person firm. We've got an office in Guyana to cover the Caribbean. We just opened up an office in Australia to cover the Pacific Rim. And I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to be here with Jason today. And Sam, who I already know.
Sam,
I'm Sam Biardo. I'm the founder of Technology Advisors and also the founder of Starfish, which is Connect Creatio, and we've been doing CRM before it was CRM.
Also our happy hour sponsor last night.
And our happy hour sponsor, because I know that people remember the alcohol.
Right. And Sam, if you can pass the mic over to Ashok. Ashok, please.
Hi, Ashok Sapaya. I'm a technologist, been in the entrepreneur world for a long time. We have a group of companies, Mitra Group. One of the companies specializes in the Creatio partnership, which we've been building for the last 2 years and delivered over 20 custom implementations. So hats off, great platform. But I'm excited to be in this journey with other partners and create a better world.
Absolutely. And Savita.
Hi, I'm Savita Ramesh, and we are a Creatio partner, Sayog Digital. Myself and Harith, we are here from India, and we are really happy to be part of this event. We've just completed 5 years being partners with Creatio and close to 20 implementations, and some of our customers are here, and we are really happy to meet them and very happy to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will tell you, out of all of the partners we have, these are 4 of the most experienced partners in our group. We've got other partners that you've met throughout the week, but I personally want to thank you. You guys make my job easy as head of pre-sales. As I reach out to each of you for various opportunities, you guys make it seamless, and that's why I think each of you have been very successful. So what we're going to talk about today is why no-code is a game-changing decision for the service and public sector, and each of these partners has a unique experience in this area. And we're going to kind of start with David on the end, and we'll come across. And I want to start with public sector a little bit. So David, you are uniquely positioned. You are the former CIO for the state of Maryland. And in your experience, why is no-code and low-code such a game changer in the public sector?
Yeah, and CIO of the Department of Health of Maryland.
A
little smaller hat. So I was in that role in 2016 and 2017. And the special challenge within public sector, as I experienced it, is that like everywhere, there's more demand than you can possibly meet. But when it came for new solutions, right? But in the public sector, there is a challenge with resources that's even more difficult than in the private sector typically. And the challenge is that you don't get the best of the industry. The pay's not there. The environment is not the same. And so when I was at the Department of Health in 2016, 2017, and trying to get more for every dollar, I did some due diligence on no-code at that point in time. And I found that we couldn't build anything but departmental scale applications. To close the comments, what I'm finding now, and started in 2019, 2020, is that we can build enterprise caliber applications for public sector or private sector. And so it's a real tool for being able to bring efficiencies and effectiveness, not just to businesses, but to public sector agencies that are skill challenged as well.
Yeah, and Sam, I think your experience in this space is not so much being in it, but working with various agencies, helping them take on this new challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have a small group that focused for years on non-emergency services. What we found is that a lot of legislation gets passed, And it takes months, if not years, for the computer systems to catch up. And low code is going to be the game changer there because it's going to allow us to automate and to provide the systems necessary to support the legislation. And so we're really excited about it as well for that space.
Now, David and Sam, you guys have both been focused on the Americas primarily. And Ashok, I want to talk to you because public sector goes well beyond the Americas, right? When we start thinking about how different countries, how different organizations in different countries look at public sector administration, it's a little bit different. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and how it's maybe a little different in different parts of the world?
Sure. I think the interesting question to ask is why aren't we building application faster? Why are we not automating functions that are manual? And I think public sector gains has to gain the most because there are a lot of manual ways of collecting information, manual way of processing. And if you take the recent incident of COVID-19 and pandemic, every country, if you want to travel, they have particular requirements for vaccination, antigen test, certain forms you need to fill in. And I'm started traveling quite a bit in the last 9 months or so. Every country is so different. Mm-hmm. And they all have PDF forms or some manual way of filling the document. Why can't they build simple forms? I mean, that's what no code can do, right? You just create the functionality, build it up, test it, roll it out in 2-3 days, finish, right? So I think that's just one example. You go into local councils, municipality, whether you're doing tax collection or rates or checking when garbage collection comes to your space where you need to put in some big equipment into the truck, you need to book those in England and other countries. Everything is so manual. You have to call the numbers and so on. So I think there is a great opportunity, but embracing it takes its time. There's a lot of red tape in the public sector. So I think we just need to go through little by little, but there's a lot of opportunities there.
You mentioned red tape, and I can't even get over the fact of how much red tape you have to go through here in the States, and I know other countries are even more onerous and tedious in some of those areas. Savitha, what is your experience in this? You come from India, you've been here in the States a lot. What are some of the things you're seeing around public sector and how low code can frankly change the way that they think about things?
Sure. I would like to credit Oren here, proceed. He gave an excellent presentation about how the CRM implementation, Creatio implementation.
I was going to bring him up next.
So that is a great case, that we have seen how the approval processes, for instance, or how many files have to go through the process and the red tapes that it needs to go through, and how Creatio has made it so easy and simple to implement that. And one other thing that I wanted to highlight here in the context of public sector is basically the citizen experience, right? It's the surrogate of customer experience for the private sector, and the way the emphasis given to that in the public sector, I think that's constantly been a challenge. In India we can see that everywhere, right? When we go to government offices, right, it takes hell of a lot of time to get something that can be done in 10 minutes. So what I went through this one paper that was published by Indiana Press, where they basically did an analysis of business process change and compared, public sector to private sector. And the key difference that stood out was the pace at which business process change happens in public sector and how they need to constantly keep up with the political changes, the legal changes, the socio-economic changes, right? So the business process is changing faster than it is in private sector, but it's finding it difficult to keep up, right? And it's constantly guided by that, but not so much for the experience that the citizens get out of that. So I think no code is a game changer there. You can implement things in a matter of days, and you can change them in a matter of days. Your business process changes. So I think that's why no code would be a great game changer for public sector.
Yeah, I agree, and you brought up the Israeli government, and Oren's in the room, so we appreciate that. I think it's not only an outstanding use case, it is the use case that all of us can stand on as we're looking at various public sector opportunities. That what they've been able to implement for the Israeli government is absolutely phenomenal. I really wish, David, there's got to be an app that we can build for the DMV, because I'm just tired of waiting at the DMV to get my license updated. So please, let's make that another marketplace app. So I joke aside, David's a great partner for building apps. So David, as we think about some of the other challenges too in the public sector, a lot of it is around information sharing and information dissemination. There's a lot of times when new laws, regulations, those types of things get passed. Is there an opportunity in the public sector for municipalities, local governments, federal governments to be able to share information and help use the power of low-code disseminate that information as things are changing?
Yeah, let me give this a short answer, building on what we just heard, and then a longer example. The short answer is for e-permitting is the way we refer to it for citizen services. Low-code platforms, especially Creatio with its workflow orientation, are fantastic. But I'll give you a longer answer of what's possible in short order from my own experience in Maryland. And what we had, I was assigned the problem of, we had individuals who were justice involved, court involved, and they're before the judge, and they are exhibiting either mental illness or substance use disorders. When that occurs, the court orders assessments and services for those individuals. And what was happening in Maryland is it was taking 80 to 120 days just to get these people placed into those services, and they had to be in jail in the interim. So that was contrary to statute, Maryland Constitution, and human rights. So I got assigned the problem, and we went in, and once I got empowered politically, it took us 90 days to fix the problem. In 90 days, we got it, the cycle times from 80 to 120 days down to 12 to 22. How did we do it? It was by working with the judicial branch, the community-based providers, and the Department of Health, just three great basic stakeholders, and putting in automation so that the information was flowing digitally on one system instead of on paper and email. So orchestration of processes is a great place for no-code.
Okay, and I do want to continue to hit on that topic as well as I think the information piece. And Sam, you guys at Tech Advisors do a lot of work in data collection, data dissemination. That's how Starfish came about. In my mind, and get your take on this, in my mind, that ability to collect and disseminate information quickly, regardless of the source, regardless of the path that it's going to take, using the power of low code to push that information, right? Disseminate information. That's what you at Tech Advisors and a lot of the integrated partners are really helping to do that. What are your thoughts?
Well, if systems don't talk to one another, that's the big complaint, and if you want to really look at it, what makes a system sticky? And what makes it sticky, and we always talk about this in sales, is the fact that it integrates into everything else. So we've created a low-code platform simply to allow people to connect different systems, no matter what they are. We have like 350 systems we can connect to. And the issue is we can do things that we couldn't do before. So for example, if I am a manufacturer and I want to talk to my distributors aren't all on the same system, we can use an iPaaS solution, particularly Connect Creatio, to translate orders from the manufacturer to the actual systems. No more duplicate entry, no more loss of data, and it's fast, it's instantaneous, and I think that's really a big advantage. It increases the ROI and makes the system a lot more attractive to both the suppliers and the actual distributors.
Yeah, absolutely, and manufacturing is one example, and I think we're going to talk about ProServe here in just a few minutes, but I want to wrap up this idea of information sharing in the public sector. And Ashok, I know you guys at Mitra have done some work in this space. What are your thoughts on this topic?
So I think whether you look at public sector or private sector, integrating the system and information data together is fundamental to do anything. So we've been doing this for 27 years. Across large organizations like JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, P&O, Ferris in the past. But now I think we are doing it more faster. That's the difference. So I remember I did a big project for Deutsche Bank 15 years ago. We had to look at 680 instances of Sybase database, and they wanted to consolidate it. It took 6 months to understand what they were using it for. But now we are trying to implement solutions in 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It's a paradigm shift. If an organization or a public sector can identify a way of aligning information together, so there are enterprise service bus and so many other solutions out there, then building application on top of that is very easy. But I think the information architecture in public sector is dispersed. It's in different departments. So I don't think it's a technology issue. It's more of a organizational design, responsibilities, authorities, and also freedom to share the information. I think that's where we see the bottleneck. So we're implementing it, but it just takes quite a bit of effort.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of the different topics that we've heard in various keynotes over the last couple of days as well, right? The ability to gain access and empower some of those users to get that information flowing so that people can have it. And Savitha, kind of wrap up this topic. When it comes to integrating systems and information sharing, what's some of the experience that you and the team at SIOG have seen?
So I think I'll talk in the context of no code itself, right? We work on multiple, platforms, no code, custom, we do all that. So the main differentiator for us when it comes to information dissemination between systems and building on what these gentlemen were saying is the security, right? With information comes a different challenge of information security, and especially in the context of public sector. And what we have seen, with some of the implementations we have done is the difference that, the security is a given, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time and effort thinking about the security or the compliance with different regions. And the product takes care of that. And we only have to worry about implementing the processes in the platform and how the information needs to be integrated between systems. So that has been a big thing for us.
Oh, that's good, that's good. So, all right, let's shift topics for a minute. We've talked a little bit about public sector. Let's shift to the ProServe side of the house. And all of us are effectively in the ProServe side of the house, so we know this topic well. I'm going to start with you, Savitha, and I'm going to work backwards. So when we think about, I got to change it up a little bit, guys, just to mess with you. So when we think about ProServe, we think about the type of work we do, but there's other types of ProServe organizations out there, right? How is the power of low code and no code, and how is this changing the way professional service organizations think about what they're doing? And I'm going to start it off. We've heard a couple of things. This morning in one of the keynote speeches, talked about how information across metaverse is going to change the way that professional service organizations think about it. Maybe give you some of your thoughts on that topic as well.
I worked with professional service organization as part of a professional service organization before. And, I think the shift has been, at least for me, after working with SIOG Digital, is in the mindset on how, we look at the business and IT, right? The conversation between business and IT is changing now. And that is something that I constantly observe being part of a professional services organization. I'm from IT, right? I've been in IT. I was coding until last 4 years ago, and I've just recently made my crossover to business. So I can really see a pattern emerging between the conversations between business and IT becoming more and more productive, and they're not competing with each other anymore. It's all about collaboration. So I think that is a key value that professional services organizations also bring to the table, is to see both sides.
Yeah, I think that collaboration is a big key. Ashok?
So the way I see it is, I think that this change has been coming for a long time. There's been tools like case tools and various other automation tools that came to the market but disappeared, didn't take off. I think that the reason no code is getting very stronger, there's 3 reasons I can articulate. One, the cloud usage is becoming very strong. A lot of financial services organization and various other, even public sectors moved into cloud, so we accepted that. 2, there are a lot of design tools you're using probably in your organization. There are like proto.io, where if you want to build an application, we design it, we give it to the engineers, they develop the application, and applications are coming out into the market 3-4 months. So there's a little bit of acceleration already happening. But third, as Catherine said, it's the demand supply. There are 25 million developers and we need 75 million people to build apps. We can't do what we do at the moment. But because everything is maturing, I think no code is it's in a perfect position. It has the scalability, it has the easiness to build application, and business can use it. I think professional services organization, there are two types. There are big organizations, the big like Accenture, Cognizant. They're used to certain growth momentum. So for them, they need large projects. So no code is a challenge from that perspective, and they're reinventing themselves. And whether it's no code today or metaverse tomorrow, these challenges will continue, and they will have to adapt. The way we tackled, so we are about 325 people organization. So the way we did was we created a separate organization for no code, Creatio partnership for the last 2 years. My CEO is sitting there, so I'm just make sure she doesn't get upset. But that team is dedicated. We don't have the same professional services pressure that the big organization will have. And as you said, it's a mind shift. It's all about you listen to your customer, you do the prototyping within 2 days. So if I speak to somebody on Monday, here is what you want. Wednesday, can I show the screens? Okay, some changes. Friday, can I get it up and running? It's that quick and that simple. So it's a complete different mind shift for the professional services.
Absolutely. And Sam, I think as we transition over to you, on this topic, I think it's one of your favorites. We've talked about it before. As companies are making this shift, what is their thought process? How are you coaching these professional service companies to be able to change that mentality? Because we've talked about it throughout the last couple of days. How are you coaching them as part of your consulting service?
Well, there's a couple things. If you look at the software development process, even the agile one, you're spending 30% of your budget in the upfront doing inception, 60% of your budget in construction, and 10% actually deploying the product. And now you're effectively moving construction type activities into the inception phase, reducing the overall cost of the budget. And what I think that really, the value of that is from the fact that to be successful as a big service provider, what do? We become more structured and less personal, and we try to make our customers fit our processes. But with low code, now I can start providing personalized services at an individual customer level because I can quickly tweak my process for a specific customer, and it's not going to cost me that much more because I'm using low-code tools.
Yeah, that hyper-personalization. We've heard about that many, many times over the last few days. Dave?
I think in ProServe, there are 3 traditional problem areas, pain points. One is managing the process of responding to RFPs. Another is managing the process of renewing your contracts, right, as they're coming to expiration. And the other is managing your people, where they are and what they need to be doing. And what I think, I think what I heard Ashok saying is that there have been solutions out here in the past that have been trying to address these problems, and they've either been over-engineered or under-engineered.
But never on the right level.
And I think no-code is like the Goldilocks technology. It's just right. And you can get what I and others call an 80% solution, right? With the quick effort, you can get everything that your team needs. You've gone to another level in a matter of a few days. And if you need to go to another level, you do that when that moment comes, right? And I think that's the beauty of low-code. And on the RFP processes, just as an example, I live in Maryland. That's where our federal government is, of course, and I have friends in the IT industry, lots of federal contractors, and the process is very regimented. And there's a methodology called pink, red, gold teams, and who's reviewing and who's approving. And there are people dedicated to just making sure that the document is getting written as it needs to be written. With what we've done with Creatio for our own organization, it's all automated, right? So yeah, Goldilocks solutions with no code is the beauty, I think.
Yeah, and you brought up exactly where I wanted to go on the next topic, which is why it's a fit, right, for ProServe companies versus some of the other technologies. And I'll come back over here, Savitha. When we think about to David's point, some things in the past have been over-engineered, some things have been under-engineered. I think that depends on where in the professional service organization you sit, right? If we think about the sales organization, a lot of them have been a very good fit in the past, right? Not gonna lie. Some of our direct competition helped pioneer this space. But the way we're thinking about it today and how fast business is changing, I think that low code is the reason that that portion of the business is going to be able to transform, not just on the front end sales side, but also in the mid and back office side. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I think the democratization is what the no code, low code has done for the business, and constantly, I mean, being in the IT and just doing the crossover, I know how difficult it is for business to constantly come after IT and constantly ask for when is my app going to be ready, right? And the digital transformation as we know it today, it has taken a life of its own. And IT has been driving this all along. And now, I think business is able to take the front seat. I think that's a game changer. Business is able to say, I need this to go to market quickly. But IT, on the other hand, can be still, happy with maintaining standardization and maintaining an integral code base and be able to stand up and say, yeah, my code is maintainable, and be able to solve some complex problems and let business drive the digital transformation. I think that is something that I wanted to mention.
You brought up the term democratization. It's the second time I've heard that term in as many buzz sessions. Had a great session yesterday where I had a CIO and a head of business transformation during a battle session on the main stage yesterday, and it was fun to watch that dynamic that you just discussed, which is the need for speed. By the way, if you saw my Top Gun video, Top Gun Maverick comes out today. That need for speed of development and to keep up with the changing business versus the need for governance and control. So Ashok, I want to pass this topic, the exact same question over to you. How do you see ProServe trying to find this middle ground and drive this balance between business and IT?
I think you're right. It is changing, but we still see in many organizations the battle between what IT wanted to do versus what business wants to do, and we're doing this at telco banks in various countries. But I think it's inevitable. The business have to be flexible. They have to be given power to build the functionalities. Otherwise, they won't be competitive. Customer acquisition will be a challenge, and service will be a challenge. I think if you look at the demand supply, actually this morning about disruption, that talk was fantastic. There are great examples in the past, and there'll be a lot more examples coming very soon. So I think the business a professional organization and business are in a crossroads. How fast can I adopt the digitalization? How fast can I allow my business to innovate? And while you maintain security standard, there are a lot of things IT manages, right? That is very important. You don't want to lose them because cybersecurity is a huge concern for many. But at the same time, how do you enable business to get creative, build the applications, start getting their customers onboarded and so on? So it's a challenge. I think it'll take at least another 4 or 5 years before we get to a certain level of maturity. But the good news is if no code can deliver on its promise, then we've built a foundation for an evolution to come. And if it is metaverse or something else coming around the corner, you need to build functionality super fast. So I see no code as a foundation, and it's a disruption on its own as to how we build application within an organization. So it's a catalyst.
No, I agree. And you brought up the term catalyst, and Sam, before you answer that exact same question, I think Barton this morning mentioned a couple of things that were in that same tone, and I think he's absolutely right. And I think all of us as low-code and no-code evangelists believe in that pattern, right? Because as the world is changing, and even if you go back into Frank's conversation yesterday during his keynote, there are so many transformative points that are happening today around us that we are at that nexus that requires something different, something new. And I think all of us believe that no code is the way to go. So Sam, back to you, the same question. How do you see this changing the world of professional services?
Well, think about the way we used to deliver a brand new product or service.
You mean the vacuum guy coming to my house and selling to me directly in my house?
Absolutely. The process went like this. Someone would come up with an idea, you would discuss it at executive level, you'd flesh that idea out, you'd build a model of it, you'd do an ROI analysis, you'd make a business decision to move forward, then you'd start building technology systems. How long did that take? That took a long time. From the time you thought about it, minimum 6 months, usually a year, low code. How's that work now? Someone comes up with an idea, you flesh it out, build a prototype, start looking at that while you're doing an ROI analysis on the service. The prototype gets fleshed out a little more, it goes to market. You cut out so many steps in that process, you've cut the time to deliver a new product in half. And that's, or more. And that's the reason why low code is going to take off.
Yeah, I think it's not only time to market. If you think about it, it's the whole cost of the whole development life cycle, right? And we've seen this transformation. You went from the waterfall SDLC, you went to agile teams to XD, and now we're moving even further. You can call it even shift left to some extent, but we're moving even farther down that path where everybody can become a no-coder and everybody can help build. David, we'll come back to you and kind of wrap this conversation up, but in this particular area on ProServe, there's so many different areas this can touch. What are your thoughts?
So I've spoken a little bit about ProServe using no code. I'd like to speak to us as ProServe professionals and organizations taking low code, no code out to the world. I think we have a special responsibility, and the special responsibility is to not oversell it or overhype it. And so the word democratization, you said that, and here in the States, we're not a democracy, we're a democratic republic. Right? And that means that there's guardrails, right? We choose what we want to do between guardrails. And the guardrails for no code, I think, that you can't get rid of are, Ashok, you mentioned architecture. Information architecture you cannot dispense with for no code solutions. If you do dispense with it, and it is a specialized skill, which if you don't have in-house, you should pay for. And the reason is anybody can build something quickly, but will what you built quickly still serve you 6 months from now, right? You need information architecture to see over the horizon and anticipate the future. So I think it's we need to be advocates for what can and can't be done. And one of the things I like to do to close on this, people say, what are the skill sets? Sometimes we can say anybody can build an app, and I try to bite my tongue, which I'm not always good at doing. But I try to say, look, anybody that can build a pivot table in Excel can probably do very well in configuring an application or solution in Creatio or other no-code solutions. But you still need that architecture, and whether it's information architecture or integration architecture, that's where IT still plays a role, and you still need governance and not shadow IT.
Absolutely. I think you talked about that one to, I think, the exact right point. So now I want to talk about a topic that goes across both ProServe and public sector, and that's information security. Okay? And David, I would challenge that information architecture and integration architecture, those are 2/3 of the pillar that the table stands upon. You also have to have information security. And it's especially important when you're dealing with customer information. That's not just ProServe, that's across the board. But when you're dealing with customer information or you're dealing with public information, maybe it's constituent information. I know David loves to use the term, what is it? It's G2C, right? Government to constituent. That's the one you type?
That's one, yes.
That's one. So he tries to do that all the time. But when we think about information security, and that's always a concern that especially the IT folks always bring up. And Savitha, we'll start with you. How can we help as practitioners of no-code and low-code? How can we help change that narrative to reduce that concern around information security?
I think it's primarily, my immediate thought would be a great communication plan. I know that, SaaS platforms, underlying, architecture takes care of security in many ways, but it takes a lot of communication to the community. To basically advocate that, this platform is going to take care of your information and data security, because we see that in customers, the mid-market customers that we work with constantly have this, hesitation when it comes to, SaaS application. Oh, it's on the cloud. Okay, so how am I going to make sure that my data is secure? I'll be okay in the on-premise environment, but that's a missed opportunity. So I think communication is one thing that Creatio can kind of focus more on, and trying to be more and more transparent with that would help.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great information even if you go to the Academy website around information security. SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, right? We finished that up last November. So that's out there now as well as the ISO certification. Ashok, I want to come to you now and talk a little bit about information security. How are you and the team at Mitra? You do a lot of integrations. How are you and the team at Mitra talking about information security as you're talking about no code?
So I think, Jason, we should look at, when it comes to no-code information security in two different areas. One, whether you're building a new software as a service platform, or you already have an organization, you have enterprise architecture, and you're building apps on top of that. So if you're a startup or you're building a brand new business, then you have to do information architecture, you have to do enterprise architecture, and you have to bring security compliance in your design itself while we build the application on no code. But let's focus on the larger, fully established business. There's already enterprise architecture in any organization. There's already information architecture, security, etc. So when we say no code, we are not replacing back office system. We are not replacing core banking or telco billing system. They're huge, massive system out there. What we're focusing is just automating the digital workflow in the front. I'm submitting some form or I'm scanning documents, somebody needs to review it and click a button to approve. So we're just talking about workflow automation. But the workflow automation uses the information architecture already there. We're not creating new architecture. Only thing is we have to make sure the security is there. So if you're capturing personal detail on the screen, you have to make sure those are encrypted and stored in the database with a full security. So then you might have information security in your organization will come and say, you can do this, you can't do this, etc. We do a lot of application development on the full stack, .NET Java stack. So there we go into what data we are passing to the backend systems through API. Are they secured? Where is it stored, etc. But on the no-code side, it's mostly the front-end application. So information security is already there in the organization. We just use it.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of the data at rest. And Sam, as we move to you, let's talk about data in motion, right, from an integration standpoint. When we think about information security and data that's moving, how are the team at Tech Advisors and Connect Creatio, how are you thinking and talking about information security?
Yeah, because it's the question everyone always asks us,
Absolutely.
right? And so the way we've architected our solution is all our endpoints are encrypted, and we never save a piece of data. It's always in motion. So therefore, the only way they can get in and actually see personal information is in our host or source or destination system. Our system never saves anything. It just transforms it and moves it on. And that's what data in motion is all about, and that's how the successful iPaaS solutions are all architected.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, and Ashok, you mentioned it, right? If Creatio is playing kind of the front end role, and then you've got data capture there, we've got the information security on our side. Data in motion, you've got the connectors that are encrypted on both ends, and then the source system or the receiving system. That falls under the overall information architecture of the client. So you've hit all of the points. Therefore, the conversation shouldn't be, well, is it secure? The answer is it's absolutely secure because of 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
Right? And it's already in line with your IT GRC.
And our typical answer when they ask us those questions is it's not applicable. Because it's never saved.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. A lot of the times you get the IT guys going, it better be applicable, right? And you just say, well, okay, is your end secure? Yeah, well, here's how the data at rest and the data on the front end secure. So David, we're going to wrap this up with you. And when we think about information security, I know you've got a little bit of a unique position because you think about it at a little bit different level because you deal a lot of public sector. But give me your thoughts on this topic.
I think that what is underappreciated about the rise of Salesforce about, 10, 15 years ago, penetrating into the enterprise.
Salesforce is a 25-year-old company. They're a legacy technology.
But they didn't break into the enterprise until 07 to 10, right? And why did they break into the enterprise? What was the breakthrough value proposition for them? It was not their technology. It was not the scope of their functionality. It was that they took away the complexity of the data center. That was it, right? Salesforce did. It was actually a worse solution than Siebel that I was expert in. And so when it comes to no code and platforms like Creatio of course being the best but not the only, one of the things that we're outsourcing that I think is underappreciated is InfoSec. We're letting you figure that out for us, right? And I'll close with the example. There are differences in different markets. I mentioned that we're in Guyana in the Caribbean, and we're trying to sell no-code solutions, and so far we're failing. Right? And a big reason that we're failing is that for those who put out tenders, as they call it, RFPs, and those people who are evaluating, they're not considering enough. They're not considering everything that you get from a modern platform, and so they're not baking in the value of having InfoSec in the solution. And so they're still going with Microsoft Access. They're still going with custom-built HTML applications for workflow. And so I think that I will close on, we need to be talking more about InfoSec when we talk about no code.
I absolutely think it's a differentiator that you're right. It's something that's built into every conversation, whether it's said or unsaid. It's kind of that unspoken thing that all the IT guys are always worried about that the business guys could care less about. But you're right, because it is inherent in the solution that we provide. I think it's the one thing that can be brought up and absolutely just deal with any issues that come up. It's not an issue, as you've been. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to host you in today's panel. I greatly appreciate your time. The best session I've had so far and been able to host. So thank you so very much for all of your time today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear